my God, will Pulse fill up? Yes. If it accrues so much value and gets so many users, yeah, the fees will go up and you'll just get really, really rich holding Pulse watching. Oh no, more really, really rich people. Like, you can't, here's the thing, you cannot force a free market to keep things cheap, because then crappy use cases that aren't valuable will outbid useful and valuable use cases. And do you want your chain with limited capacity to be filled up with crap? No, you don't want your chain filled up with crap. You want it filled up with nice, good things. Well, then how do you know what the difference between nice and crap is? By bidding. And the people that see more value on the chain pay more to use the chain. And then your limited resource chain, through the bidding mechanism, is filled with the most valuable things that people can fill it with. And so this like socialist USSR decree that, oh, we're just going to have cheap fees forever, it doesn't work, because there's a finite amount of space and you have to allocate it to certain users. And who should you allocate it to? Those that can most afford it, because they're bidding with their money for how valuable the transaction is. So the solution to a limited resource isn't to screw around with the pricing. The solution to a limited resource is to create more of the resource. So the Ethereum chain is full. Great. Well, we're going to make one with 4 times more throughput, and it won't be full. It'll be empty, and let's go fill it up.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another day on Pulsechain. And we're going to be talking about the Pulsechain, on the road to greatness. We're going to talk about some hurdles and all the Pumpamentals. It should be fun to discuss that. So let's get into it, folks. Let's see who's in the house. We've got Lies Beneath. How are you today? Pretty good, but the weather outside is pretty wintry, kind of raining and overcast, that sort of thing. But other than that, pretty good. Hex Pulsex Incentive for the win, 100%. That is the maxi strategy of this channel. A big shout out there to Lies Beneath for bringing that to us every day. We got Wookie in the house there, and Wookie is had some greatness for breakfast. Excellent. Wookie is a very good cook, if you don't know that, a bit of a chef, and yeah, does some pretty amazing stuff there. Worked at some of the most, I guess, high-end places on earth, like yeah, Queenstown. He's a big cook there, so kind of cool. Wookie says, you are just one big pump mental. Yeah, well, we try to be. We try to be. Hey, get into the chat there. Make it lively. Yesterday's chat was so good. Everyone was getting in there. It was so fun to see the chat go live. So get in there and get involved, folks. It really is. The community is number one, as Richard Hart would always say. Let's get into it, folks. We're going to jump into the stock market. We've got a few little bit of entertainments today, so we're going to get into that. We're also going to look at Tom Lee's view of Bitcoin. So we're going to look at that too. So bring it on. Let's have a look at the stock market first to kick us off. We got the S&P 500 closes higher ahead of busy week as the Fed meeting. Big tech earnings are eyed up there. So that's what's coming up there. We can see that these are Monday's results. Excuse me. We've got the Dow Jones there is sitting just down slightly, 49 points to 40,539. We have the S&P 500 is up 4.4 points at 5,463. Tom Lee's got some pretty bullish outlooks for the S&P 500. We're talking about 15,000. I mean, that's almost a tripling from here. So that's some crazy stuff coming up there. We got the NASDAQ as well is up slightly, 12 points to 17,370. So that's kind of where we are there on the stock market. Let's quickly go to commodities. We can see that West Texas is down slightly, 17 cents to $75.64. Brent oil is down 27 cents to $79. We've also got natural gas there. Funny enough, natural gas topic here in New Zealand down under, because we had a Labour government which is basically shutting down all our energy. They were doing it while we were already having a decline in supply. And so they just exacerbated that. That's how idiotic, the left-wing people are. They're just insane, really. And so we were actually got a potential crisis with gas and electricity. And so, yeah, I mean, we've got to use gas to fire gas-powered stations, right? So, yeah, a bit of alarming there. Fortunately, we have about 80% plus of a renewable energy, given the fortunate things that we had built in the 1970s. Have turned out to be a bit of a godsend for us. But nevertheless, gas is going to be a real big issue there. We've got gold at the moment is up $2.55 at 2,428, so looking pretty good as gold. Silver there is up, up slightly there, 11 cents at $27.97. We're going to obviously really looking at silver and gold doing very well in the year ahead. I really see that's going to be pretty one of the big things. And of course, we're going to looking forward to the interest rates and US dollar devaluation for that to really kick into gear. Target for silver, $75 plus is probably reasonable there. Now we do have the Fed meeting set up to provide a rate cut clarity. The US Federal Reserve concludes its latest meeting on Wednesday, as it's coming up in 2 days' time, and is widely expected to keep interest rates unchanged. We expect the FOMC remains on hold at 5.375%, which is that midpoint, but opens the door to a September rate cut. So September looking very, very solid for a rate cut. That's bullish for the markets, right? Perfect timing for crypto. Following the Bitcoin halving, everything else, it really is could be absolutely spectacular for October, running into Christmas there. Chair Powell is expected to signal that the Fed is close to lowering its target rate. Morgan Stanley adds, but will likely avoid to committing to a cadence of cuts. In other words, will we get 2 cuts, for example? The primary factor moving the FOMC closer to a cut is the favorable inflation data from May to June. So that's been really favorable after firmer inflation figures in the first quarter, attributed largely to residual seasonality and typically month-to-month noise. The second quarter saw significant improvement in inflation news. Traders were seeing pricing in a 25 basis point cut in February, in September there. So that is kind of the key stuff there. We also got some economic news expected this week, labor market in focus. Remember, the Fed is trying to trade away inflation trade away employment for inflation, low inflation. The week's main economic data release will be Friday, non-farm payrolls, with economists expecting the U.S. economy to have created 177,000 jobs in July, moderating from 206,000 in the prior month. That said, there are a raft of employment reports through the week, such as job openings and labor turnover survey, ADP employment, and weekly jobs claims. So lots of job data are lining up there. Due ahead of that, which will be the scrutinized of concrete clues on an easing labor market. So there we go. That's going to be pretty big. Now, the Fed rate monitor, just to confirm that whether it's at the moment for July, we've got a day and 17 hours until the Fed meeting. That's coming up. They were expecting a no change. The market is expecting no change there. Only 5% of the market expects a pivot that early, but most of the market is not in that camp, 95%. September, however, is the whole market is expecting an interest rate cut. So September the 18th is looking good from the market's point of view. All right, so that's kind of where we are at the moment. Let's jump into crypto. Now, BTC had a big rally overnight and then pulled back. So we're going to talk about that. Almost got 70,000, if I remember rightly. 66,865 now, down 2%. And of course, we had the big, a bit of seller news event around the Trump positioning and maybe even JFK at the crypto Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And of course, that was super bullish, talking about potential strategic reserve, firing Gary Gensler, never sell your Bitcoin, all that sort of stuff, putting in a new head of the SEC, getting rid of the attack on crypto generally, and moving to a more clear, simplistic regulatory environment likely. So that's kind of some of the mega themes there. Now, obviously, I've said that you can't trust the Democrats and Kamala Harris and all that. They following that, we have seen $2 billion move out of the Mt. Gox holdings there by the Treasury, and so it's already been games are afoot, right, to undermine Trump's bullish comments there. So yeah, it's this is what you're dealing with the current regime. They will just have, if they win the election, it's tyranny, or global tyranny. They'll finish the transfer of power and remove, undermine the constitution, all the rest of the freedoms, and it's game over pretty much in that 4-year period for freedom worldwide. It is pretty much a doomsville. So we really do need to win that election, and us down in New Zealand definitely need that so that we have no more wars. And under Trump, there was no new wars there, so we would need to have that world peace as well, and not only freedom but world peace. We've got Bitcoin there at the moment. We've got Ethereum, $3,322, up 1.5% on Ethereum at the moment. So that's holding up quite well as the old Ethereum there. Everything else pretty mixed. We've got a couple of standouts though. XRP up slightly. Litecoin up at 3.77%. Matic up almost 0.5%. So we've got a couple of their shining lights like Ethereum there. But the rest of the market is down slightly. Moving to Bitcoin. We got Bitcoin there. Obviously had that big rally. Look at that go. And then, of course, probably on that Mt. Gox government department moving that $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. We have come all the way back down here. So absolutely got smashed there. We did manage to get to 70,000 exactly on the high, and it came all the way down to 66,389. Had a little bit of a counter rally, and then we're back down here at 66,841. So that is where we are, and that is on the hourly. So you can see that. Let's go to the daily though, and hopefully that will auto queue. Yeah, cool. So the daily there still looking very good above the 50-day moving average in yellow. 64,298, and of course that 200-day moving average still moving up at 59,422. So we're getting very close to 60,000 for the 200-day moving average, which is pretty bullish. Now that brings in a little bit of video here from Tom Lee. So let's enjoy this, and I think he's I'm not sure who's with, but we'll have a quick look at that. So it's one of the former investment guys / politician. So we'll have a quick look at that. And don't forget to get into the poll. We've got a poll on at the moment. How bullish are you on Pulsechain's future? Mega bullish, super returns, average returns, kind of like an index level. You can decide which index you want to use in terms of altcoins and things like that. Underperform, will pretty much underperform the rest of the market. You kind of miss the bull market when it does that. So there we are. That's mega bullish there. So getting that vote, folks, and we'll check that out a bit later. But let's hear from Tom Lee on his Bitcoin forecast. So
Bitcoin has done great this year. It's up 50%. The ETFs, you see this cascade of money, this waterfall of money, exactly as you predicted. The halving happened. And so for those listeners that may not know what Bitcoin does in terms of the network spits out about 900 coins a day, and then sometime in April it cut that coin distribution in half to 450 coins a day, and so the less supply you would think would move the price. The price has more or less been treading water here. You've got overhang issues. You had the supply onboarding of the government of Germany. You've got the Mt. Gox issue. Tell us about Bitcoin here. Are you still as bullish as you were, and what do you think happens to Bitcoin by the end of the year?
Yeah, we're still bullish on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has become an asset class now. It's now supported by a growing financial infrastructure, including BlackRock. I mean, when you get the BlackRock validating that as an asset class, it's not even close to being a flash in the pan. And I think many people forget that this is more of a signal of how much this asset class will grow over time, because when institutions got into private equity or venture capital as asset classes, something really well, Anthony, that signaled a multi-decade period where institutional sponsorship and ownership would grow. So I think we're only in the earliest stages of where demand is coming from a new source for Bitcoin that hadn't existed really since the first Satoshi was minted. And so I think that Bitcoin, unfortunately, is affected by, it's a hyper volatile asset. So it's affected by supply perceptions, not just demand perceptions. And on the supply side, you're exactly right. Mt. Gox is finally being resolved. That's really been one of the biggest expected overhangs since the original hack. And so when the distribution, which is in July, when that's behind us, and markets see that there hasn't been cataclysm, I think that's going to be a case for why Bitcoin does really well in the second half. The Germany distribution, that's very strange timing, but that's already behind us now. And I'd say the only thing that I think would hurt crypto is that it's still correlated and viewed as a risk on assets. So if the Fed is somehow unexpectedly tight, I think it would act as a headwind. But if the Fed starts cutting, I think you're going to see a move in Bitcoin that would correlate to what small caps would be doing as well. There's a lot of things correlated to a Fed starting a cutting cycle.
So 100,000 by the end of the year, is that possible?
Yeah, I think that 100,000 or even higher is possible. Bitcoin makes moves in very short periods of time. We have published previously for many years showing that Bitcoin makes most of its gains in 10 trading days, if you look at percentage gains. So, those 10 days could all be in the second half of this year.
It's an interesting time because, as you and I both know, the market climbs a wall of worry. We have the debt crisis. We have
So that is pretty bullish there from Tom Lee, and of course his targets are upwards of 150k, and of course, as he says quite rightly, a lot of the big moves in Bitcoin happen in like 10 days, 20 days of the year in percentage terms, and so and he says a lot of them probably happen in the second half of the year, and I'm feeling pretty good about that for October onwards. So expecting some big things and some massive re-rate. We're looking very, very strong in the chart, as you guys can see already on the daily, and we're above the 50-day and so on. So it looks pretty good. All right, and we've got obviously the interest rates expected to come up in September. That's bullish, not only for Bitcoin but also for Pulsechain. So that's good news. And then of course the US election on the 5th, if we have a favorable outcome there with a Trump victory, which the market's going to be trying to price in recently with the last rallies, with the 65% price in of a victory there. That would be super bullish, obviously being pro crypto and freedom, and having a lot of pro crypto people around President Trump. So that'd be great overall. All right, so that leads us into Ethereum at the moment. Ethereum there on the hourly, you can see we had a nice little rally up there, pull back, and it's been a bit of a zigzag sitting in the middle there at the moment. Let's go to the daily though and have a look at Ethereum. So Ethereum there currently just between the at the top, actually just below the 50-day moving average. The 50-day moving average at $3,350 for Ethereum. The 200-day at $3,132, and we're currently sitting at $3,313, just below that 50-day moving average. So actually looking pretty good as well. But obviously Bitcoin even looking even stronger. We're probably going to have the Ethereum ETF start ramping up as well. And as Tom Lee said, a lot of firms not even registered for a lot of these ETFs, and so there's a lot of future demand coming from unregistered corporates and things like that coming up in the future. So it's just going to continue to ramp up. Still very early days here. And of course, obviously, we got the Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF, interest rate pivots, US election, and potentially favorable Trump administration should they win. And of course, we've already seen the cheating start, right? The cheating's already started. We've seen Google and Facebook are already just doing unbelievable political interference. It's removing searches on Google, removing legitimate pictures of assassination, things like that on Facebook, and threatening suspensions and stuff like that. So the games are afoot, right? The political manipulation, even the poll results are being manipulated. So it's the beginning of where things are heading. Busing people into certain states illegally to try and influence the outcomes of political elections as well with illegal voting. So there's lots of already stuff ramping up there. And of course, suspensions and harassments of people not on the left getting targeted still. And thank goodness for the platforms like Rumble, X platform, where those voices are still heard loud and clear. All right, so that's kind of leads us in there. And of course, we're going to have meme coins, of course, on Bitcoin. And of course, at the moment, we've got Dog Out of the Moon right down at 5.8 sats. So really just sitting on that bottom line at the moment. Pretty flat at the moment. Market cap 386 million. So really expecting the big move on that for this bull cycle to really, maybe potentially take over the EVM chains and become the number one meme coin on the number one chain. It's going to be interesting to see that theme play out. The rest of the runes down at the moment. A few little green lights there. We've had some new entrants, of course, like memes go to the moon, or go to the Mars. Those are some of the new ones there that have entered the top 10. So we've had a bit of a reshuffle. Lobo and Zbit have been pushed down. Epic's been pushed down out of the top 8, the top 10. Decentralized been pushed out of the sets them. So we've had quite a few movements here in the top 10 runes or meme coins on the Bitcoin. All right, so that's kind of the play there at the moment. Let's jump over to the meme coins overall. So as I said, we've got Dogecoin at the moment up at $18.5 trillion, and they're all down again. So the meme coin's just down at the moment, becoming the sentiment. We might, if we had blown past at 70k Bitcoin, of course, it'd all be the other way, right? But then, of course, with the Treasury moving that 2 billion of Bitcoin amount goxed up. We got SHIB and everything else down. A big mover down at the moment on the weekly is Dog with Hat. That is down 17% there. What else is down pretty big? Popcat there on Solana is down 16%. Book of Meme are managing to be up 13% for the week. 13% of that is today. So really it's the last day that's moved up there. Mogcoin also managing to be up 11%, but it's still down 11% for the week. That's kind of the play there. And you can see Dog down here sitting, I think, at number 14 approximately. It was sitting at number 8, number 10. I think the highest it's been is number 7. It's down here at number 14 at the moment, but we are looking for that to turn at some stage. So that's kind of where we are with the meme coins. Total market cap of crypto 2.4 trillion, and that is where we are, and that is down 0.2% at the moment. Now, we had some good stuff here at the, not just President Trump and other speakers, but we also had apparently the highest stakes and Richard Hart. There's a picture apparently from the Bitcoin conference, and I believe that's to be true here. So that is of Richard Hart there wearing his Gucci's, and you've got the highest stakes. So that's kind of cool. But that'd be quite a cool here. R&H live and well at the National BTC show. That's from Danny Mandebo here, and that's a cool little picture there. So nice to see a bit of Pulsechain Hex represented at the National Bitcoin Conference. That leads us into the results for day 444. Before we get into that, though, let's get back in the chat there and welcome a few people into the house. We got Logie says, fire Gary Gensler. Yeah, well, hopefully if Trump wins, that will happen. We need it for crypto, honestly. They will just be more tyranny from these guys. We are in the most fundamental phase. Unfortunately, a lot of the young people that are voting, a lot of the females that are voting have been indoctrinated, and so they really have no clue what's going on. It's really up to the middle-aged generations, as I'd call it, to save the day. And so hopefully that's going to happen. We do have seen some light, though, with reform in the UK doing very well with the young generation. So there is some hope that some of that programming indoctrination for the last 3 decades can be unwound a bit, and the people instead of will be free to flourish rather than oppress themselves because they've been indoctrinated to do so. So fingers crossed for that. Fundamentals are Pumpamentals. They certainly are, Logie. They certainly are. We got Brian, our community leader in the house there. What's up, folks? Good to see you, Brian. Always a champion in our community. Blair as well. Hi, all. Good to see you, Blair. Like the little party popper there. And Property Review. Big shout out. Pulse. Yeah, Pulse for the win there. Property Review, Pulse for the win. Ben Miller in the house there. Good evening, Superman and a Directorate crew. Absolutely. Now, I'm not actually covering Pulse Mafia today. I covered it yesterday. But probably every second day I'll probably be covering that. Maybe every day, depending on what's happening. But yeah, definitely a big shout out to the syndicate, to the Yakusas, to the hustlers, and of course the Directorate crew, all up there. Big shout out to everybody. And the Don sends out messages. You remember to respond to the Don and those messages. Very important. People follow the orders in the family. So there is the latest orders out there at the moment. So get onto it, folks, and make the family strong. That's what it's all about. So big shout out. All right, let's get in there. Let's get back into Pulsechain, day of 444. And the good news, I've got here title of the video, Pulsechain on the road to greatness, hurdles and Pumpamentals. Well, we've got a green day today, so we're going to talk about this topic now. We've got Pulse at the moment, quadruple 0465, up 1.86%, 47% of the mean sacrifice price at the moment. PulseX making a very strong move, and I'm expecting big things from PulseX. Up 3.92% at quadruple 0255. Still super cheap compared to the mean sacrifice price, 25%. So still a lot of upside there for PulseX. Just to get back to the mean sacrifice price, the buy and burn is at 931.8 billion PulseX, and that is 4.61% of total supply. So we've got 2 milestones coming up. We've got that 1 trillion PulseX mark in the buy and burn, and we've got that 5% mark is coming up as well. So those are kind of cool there as well. Now that doesn't include, that supply sync doesn't include obviously protocols like Power Cities, a Hex stable coin, so that like XDC, things like that. So it doesn't include things like that, which takes off another 4% or so last time we checked. We got incentive token at the moment, $2.66 is up 3.95%. 1.86% of the course of that is the Pulsechain price. So the ratio is lifted up today as well. We're at 57,192 pulse per incentive token. We got just under 38.2 million incentive tokens in existence. Remember, they're created from the V1 Pulsex farms. That's how they get created into existence. We got Hex at the moment at 5800th of a penny, down 0.25%. So it's actually the biggest loser today. eHex there at 1300th of a penny. And we got the price there is 7100th of a penny at the moment is where we are. So I think it's pretty similar to yesterday. Yeah, pretty similar because the price is only down slightly there. So Hex got a lot of upside for Hex. So it's going to be fun to see that play out. And people accumulating at the moment are going to be, feel like winners in the future, I'm sure. So that is the overall. Let's get into the Pulsechain on the road to greatness analysis. And here we can see that the RSI has cooled off after a big rally. We've talked about this the last 2 days. We had the big rally. We had the RSI cool downs, what we wanted to see. We have stayed up relatively well, not as high as I would have liked, but actually still pretty good. So if we can hold that line, that is very good for the next move on the daily. And let's have a look at where that was. So we had a big rally up into the 20th of July. We've pulled back to some degree. So let's have a look at with the Fibonacci and see how that looks. So we're going to go from there. We're going to go all the way up to there. We might go full mode. Let's go full mode. And yeah, just hopefully that was have a better view. But that is, we rallied all the way up. We've come back and we bounced off the 50 Fibonacci, which is good. Sometimes you can come down to 61.8 to go before you go. It's typically what happens, but the higher, the better. I was hoping we would stay at the 38.2. We did have a red day though and bounced to that, but we've bounced off the 50 and looking pretty good at 46.555 at the moment for old Pulsechain. Are we out of the woods yet? Well, I think we're pretty much out of the woods for the most part. I think we're breaking this downtrend. If we were to mint out a little top there, I don't know, we'll take the top from there maybe. We're broken out of sort of these trends, haven't we? Let's take it to there. We've broken out of that, haven't we? And so maybe this is really the turning point, really. Subject to the only thing that's kind of a hurdle. I've got hurdles here for the road to the greatness. The only hurdle really is this motion to dismiss. And of course, then that changes the whole pivot. So at the moment, I think we're in a pretty positive pivot for Pulsechain. But of course, if we fail to get that motion to dismiss, then we only have the one insurance policy left, and that's reliant on Trump becoming president of the United States. And of course, that makes it far more probable that we get a change of the guard by January 2025, and potentially get a lot of the cases like this one against Richard Hart, Pulsechain, and all that, which I think are got a lot of fundamental flaws. Personally, is they get dropped before we get information discovery in March and June next year, right? So that's the kind of call. So we've got those three stages at the moment. We only had two. We've now got three. And that first one is the dismissal case. And we do have, Richard has hired the dream team of lawyers, and that's coming up on the 22nd of August. So that is a bullish event for me, but like a counterpunch in a boxing fight. And so that's coming up only days away. So that's how many days? That is 23 days away. So 3 weeks. So we might have a little second leg up here during this period. So that we'll be looking out for that, as long as we have the general market as tracks along pretty nicely as it has been for Bitcoin and Ethereum and things like that. Then of course the 22nd of October is the bit of a wild card. The way the market might take this, obviously oral arguments against an end of decision. Hopefully we'll see on that dismissal case, and hopefully we win that, and that will just end it. That'll be the first ending, and then Pulsechain could hyper rally out the end of that. Should we win that case, right? So that is the place at the moment, and that is not, how many days away is that? Well, 84 days plus whatever the decision is. So that's kind of where we are there. And should we fail, of course, then it will go into information discovery, as I say, into 2025, which is not cool. But the second phase would be Trump wins November the 5th, January 25. They, introduce their new cabinet and all that sort of stuff. They get rid of, change the SEC lead and drop a lot of the bad cases. And that's potentially a good outcome for Richard Hart and Pulsechain, right? and we rally out of that too. So if we go past that, then it really does get into, you know, a real gray area and potentially negative because of the information discovery phase. So we've got two steps, two positive phases, by October and by January 2025, maybe February at the latest. And then those are the two positive stages. And should we win both of those, that'd be kind of cool, or the first or second, whatever. And then, of course, the negative one would be thereafter. If those two fail, then things really become up in the air there, and we could get suppressed. Now, the market may move us up anyway, but we still have that negative core outcome potentially sitting there a bit unknown. So fingers crossed that we do better before that. So that's kind of the positives and the bullish Pumpamentals. Obviously, the chain itself is doing very well, ticking away pretty well there. And we've obviously, with good block times, a full system state copy of Ethereum, all that sort of stuff. We've got projects galore. And one of the projects, if you want to see how big the ecosystem for Pulsechain is, we've got something like 226 projects at the very least. And this updated chart here from Pulse Wallet shows you many of the projects there. We've got charity projects, market projects on Pulsechain, information projects. This is pretty much off the press, this one. We got gaming protocols, obviously. We got what have we got in there? Yeah, so this hasn't got all the protocols that I can see. But this is the latest one that they've minted. Keeping track of all the projects is a bit tough. We got tokens there, obviously, socials, exchanges, Hex information, memes, of course, very, very a big part of the market. DeFi is a big part of Pulsechain. NFT market's a big part of Pulsechain. We do have 7 dedicated NFT marketplaces, plus a couple of indirect ones like Pulse Mafia with its platform NFT. Tools, of course, cross-chain solutions and metaverses. There's lots of stuff here, and there's actually definitely stuff that's not on this list. So maybe they just need to hear about those projects. But that is a cool little map, and in any case of the Pulsechain ecosystem, just showing you how bullish it is. So we have a layer 1, a full system copy of Ethereum released back on May the 10th last year, and it's been operating pretty well. We've had a pretty good flourishing of protocols on Pulsechain, as you can see here. And we've got lots of cool smart devs on the chain, and of course we've enjoyed some of the benefits there, particularly around Hex with Dipcatcher, Gold Key, Alex McFerder, around Pulsechain. We've had lots of cool teams like Famous, Power City, Liquid Loans, Internet Money, and around GameFi, people like Jacob. Ecosystem out there has been really, really cool. So, and many other project teams and the developers there ticking away. So that is pretty cool. So that's not changed much. Yeah, what else I was going to say about that? I think that's it. So yeah, we got the positivity of the US election and the interest rates pivots as well before the end of the year, and of course following the Bitcoin halving. So we've got the whole crypto bullishness sitting behind us as well. So that is generally pretty bullish for this year for Pulsechain. All right, let's jump into the PulseX at the moment. PulseX looking really, really good. I mean, look at this. We're holding on the weekly here. This is not the daily view, the weekly here. We're holding that yellow support line, so looking really good. We're getting closer and closer, potentially to a bullish cross here on the moving averages, the EMA 13 and 34. The 13 is in that pink, and the 34 is in the purple. And we get that crossing, that'd be super bullish. We've got plenty of room in the RSI for a great rally. So the PulseX chart is looking pretty good, folks. All I can say is looking pretty good. And arguably, if you had put a line here on the weekly, I don't know, even if you took it from there, we've got a breakout. So everything's looking pretty good on the old PulseX. Let's go to the daily as well. Daily RSI, plenty of room to move higher as well, 56. And we managed to bounce from 2,350. We're now at 2,550, and we had a bullish cross here on the moving averages 13 over the 34. So that's been pretty bullish. So everything looking pretty good on a 4-hourly. The RSI is pretty cool as well, 50. And it looks like we almost had a bullish cross here too. So we get a bit more green today. We might end up getting that nice little breakout there. It's only Monday, Tuesday. So looking good there. So PulseX looking really good. Incentive token looking good as well because the ratio's moved up. We're at the top of the range, and so this is getting really good. So gearing up for that breakout. So fingers crossed, looking pretty good on INC. Hex has kind of been the laggard. We did have a good run though, pull back as well. So let's have a quick look at this on the RSI. Is looking real chill on the daily at 549. So lots of room to move up there. Let's have a look at the Fibonacci and go from here and have a look up there. Bam. We came similarly to Pulsechain, slightly better though. We bounced off the 50 Fibonacci, and we're currently just moving sideways the last 2 days at 5,800 on the 1,500 of a penny. But this is looking really good. That has held up pretty well, rather than what we've seen previously, where we have a little breakout and it just goes down again, and everyone gets upset, arguably, and it bounces again, it goes back down. So this has been over. We've actually had the opposite now, where we're getting higher lows. So that's pretty good. Another move to the high. It's going to look really, really nice for this chart. So fingers crossed on that continues, because so far it's looking good. And yeah, getting over that key mark there of 7,750. That is a key one there. So 7,750 for Pulse, or just over 7,700 of a penny for Pulse. Hex on Pulse would be very, very key for the next move up. And of course, the next one after that would be 1 cent, getting over 1 cent. So there we go. Good zone for pickup. EHEX, of course, is down there as well. Just make it slightly higher at 1,300 of a penny, and lots of room to move up as well. Let's go to the Hex derivatives. The only positive ones today, we've got Icosa on Pulsechain up 6.5%, and Hedron is up 2.7%. Yesterday, though, Lucky was up, I don't know, was it up 30% or something? Was it Icosa? One of them was up big time yesterday. Let's go to stable coins. What else we got here? Nothing much happening here. PDI at the moment, 0.2 of a penny, so that's really on the weak side there. And we got what else? The LUSD is down 5% at the moment. So those are the two speculative ones. Moving to the influencer coins. Influencer coins at the moment. Let's see what's positive. We've got Bromance there from BitBoy, or Ben Armstrong, up 3.5%. More there from Trayvon, up 3.4%. No token for Randy Alaski, up 1.6%, just below that 0.2 of a penny mark there. And of course, that's Randy Alaski and his no permissions program there. We got Paul Pleb is up 1% there from Hexy Busters. That's kind of the play at the moment. Worst performer today is Matty Allen. Of course, Matty Allen had a big rally in that coin, but is down 7% at the moment. Let's have a look at, see where Matty Allen's at. Yeah, so there we are. That is a nice big rally. Just come back down, hit this previous support level around $2.73 or so. So it's $2.85 at the moment. So let's see if it can hold that position rather than cascade back down again. So pretty risky stuff, but nevertheless did pretty well for the last couple of days, or last week I should say. Let's jump back over to the rest of Pulsechain. Have a look at that. Let's scroll down, have a look at the overall numbers. Pulsechain at the moment, 14.8 million. That seems a little bit better than what we've seen recently. We would definitely like to get back over 25 million. 220,000 transactions, so that's definitely up as well from yesterday. So it's kind of cool. Looking at the best performers, we got this Mega Mook token, UFO, part of PDGC in Alien, I believe. We got Blaster there, up 6%. Launch, one of the launch pads. So we haven't actually launched anything yet. I don't think they have, but maybe they've got something coming up. Waiting for their first launches, of course, onto Pulsechain. That will add to that big map that we just looked at around Pulsechain with all the 226 plus projects. Up 5% at the moment. Pulsex making a good position there at number 5. And Incentive Token as well, number 6, which we've talked about. So they're both up as well. Nice to see Rich Heart Tokens, at least in the leaderboard there. Bromance and Pika is up 3%. So there's a little bit of movement there on some of these tokens. Nope token, of course, we covered that, etc. So those are the ones making some green candles today on the old Pulsechain. That leads us into Hex, of course, day 1701, which is equivalent to, what did we say, day 444 on Pulsechain. We got the 29th of July there, price up slightly, and the payout per T-share 7.14x per T-share on the old Pulsechain. What else we got going on there? T-shares down 1,100, sitting at 9,193,000 T-shares. And the ownership pool, the reward pool, it's got 500,000 in penalties today, sitting at 65.7 million in Hex penalties paid out to those T-share holders. Increase in 20 liquid holders, down 12 miners, 223,308 miners on the old Hex on Pulsechain. And of course, hex.com. Check it out. We're on to day 702 on Ethereum. Unfortunately, they haven't updated the Ethereum data since the 24th of June. So who knows what the heck that's going on there. And maybe Crispy Man's website's probably got the only one with data on it that's reasonably good to use. Maybe we should shift to that. We shall see. Not shift to it, but add it into the mix here on hexstats.today. Hexstats.today. So that's kind of cool. And of course, we started day 445 on Pulsechain. Not too bad, not too shabby. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment. That is Pulsechain. And 40 minutes into the hour, not too bad on the old time frame. Let's see who else has jumped into the chat. We got Hexcavator in the house there. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hope you're doing well there. Maybe you could help New Zealand with our gas problems after getting rid of Labour governments. It's pretty scary. Now, Labour governments around the world pretty much wrecking everything right now. Australia's got a Labour government still. We know the UK's just got a Labour government, and they are wrecking the UK fast. I feel sorry for all the children that got slaughtered today because of the progressive policies of Labour and previously the so-called conservative, which was never not conservative. It was progressive as well. And of course betrayed the people once again and got voted out for it. But now they got something worse, right? So they got something worse. And so I do feel sorry for the UK. It is a sad day when you're bringing in the enemy of the state and they kill your children, and it's pretty bad. But these people keep voting progressives in. They're going to get these terrible things, terrible outcomes, just constantly bad, not just for their country but for the West as well. Who would have thought we had seen this sort of idiocy in the West? It just is mind-blowing. We got what else there? Big K in the house there. Hey, good to see you, Big K. Hope you're doing well also. And welcome. All right, so that's pretty much it. I think Pulsechain's looking pretty good. Let's get to the poll and end the poll here and see how many votes we got in that. Let's see here. We got 25 votes. That's fantastic, everybody. Thanks for voting. Really appreciate it. How bullish are you on Pulsechain's future? Mega bullish, 68%. Wow, that's such a good poll result. Super returns, 28%. Wow, that's so impressive. So 97% of people the super or mega bullish about Pulsechain, and that's 25 votes. It's fantastic. Only 3% expect Pulsechain to underperform the rest of crypto. In the average return index, no one was in the average. They don't expect it to perform average, but either completely outperform or with a very small amount of people expecting it to underperform there. So Wiki says poll. Yeah, got to it. That's it. Unfortunately, I can't bring it up on the screen. I'm not sure how to do that, but maybe it's possible. I think I can possibly set some object up that may be able to show the chat. We'll have to look at that, see whether they can do that. Look to see whether they've got more features like that. But that is the result today. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's content. That Bitcoin conference, bullish. Really will need to, President Trump to win the elections for crypto to really flourish. And of course, that would be, help life-changing gains for everybody. That's early in crypto, and when we say early, I mean 2009. Was it January the 3rd? Was it 2009? Bitcoin launched first block mine. I think it was January the 3rd. And it's still early days. Here we are in 2024, and but it is fundamentally pivoted, hasn't it? Bitcoin ETFs. We've got BlackRock. I mean, for all the bad things BlackRock's doing in terms of taking away freedom and stuff like that, they are pumping your bags in crypto and bring in the big blue chips to invest into the state, maturing the asset class. So here we are, 15 years later. And it's still early. It's kind of crazy, but I don't think you'll be that early after the next 5 years, right? So the next 5 years it'll probably be, not so early. But markets go through ebbs and flows. So I mean, if you come back into the market after it does a big pullback after the next bull market, and then you can make some mad gains, that way. Just remember, when the bull market does hit us, whether it's the end of this quarter this year, or whether it even goes far into next quarter. Next year, right, maybe as far as the Q3, just remember to take your profits when you see those big chart movements happen, and you go, hey, look, this is a pretty good profit. Remember to take profits and don't get too greedy, and then not, miss the boat. So you don't want to ride down the other side of the bull run, right? You don't want to ride down that And so just remember to keep a cool eye on when you get that hyperbolics. You can look at the previous charts. We've done that many times. To take profits, very, very important. I know Randy Alasky is big on this too, to take profits when you see those big movements coming up ahead, and don't get forever up. Don't get to that zone. Otherwise, you could ride down the bull market later on, always thinking that it's going to go back up, but it doesn't, because it's going down to the bottom cycle. So just remember that. All right, I think that's it. So yeah, let's fingers crossed we win that dismissal by October. And if not, then Trump wins in November and we get a new SEC leadership and dropping the cases by January, February next year. That way, maybe the information discovery in March to June next year doesn't occur, and it's game on for a Pulsechain. And from that point of view, nevertheless, I think even with the positive crypto markets, it's going to lift all boats, and Pulsechain should get lifted from that too. And then of course, there's always the magic carpet ride, right? It's out there in the ether, as we say. It's out there in the ether there. So was it 175,000 Ethereum sitting out there? So fingers crossed on that too. It will benefit from any hyper rally in Ethereum. So that's kind of the play. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed it today. And the Pulsechain on the road to greatness. We've got all that cool stuff. Great chain, battle tested layer 1, which is so cool. We've got all that big ecosystem that I showed you the map of, and which is 226 plus more development, more projects coming. It really is exciting. And the only one hurdle still sitting out there is into 2025. So fingers crossed for that. All right, take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and hit the bell. We're streaming to over 10,500 subscribers on 3 channels: Hex Token channel, Superman Crypto, and of course Pulsechain X. And a big shout out to all the new members recently. If you haven't joined our Discord, the link's in the video description. It is a private Discord, so $5 a month for membership, only 16 cents a day. So it's pretty good value there for all the information, and an awesome community. And of course, if you want to go to the next level, we've got Strategy Club as well. That's $35 a month. You can join up the Strategy Club. We look at lots of different protocols like meme coins, ROI protocols, and of course, Richard Art stuff. It is pretty cool. All right, take care, everybody. Big Kahuna says, thank you very much, man. You're most welcome. Thanks to everybody in the community. Really do appreciate all your support. And we really are just sharing the journey together. That's why I stream virtually every day about Pulsechain for years now. It's just crazy. It is a lot of fun as we wait patiently for the big magic carpet ride. All right, let's play out a cool video for the magic carpet ride on the way out, since I've been talking about it. Let's play that out there, and let's see. There's this one here. All right, peace out, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.
In theory, if someone were a billionaire and they had like all this money, why wouldn't they just buy more of the thing they liked instead of dumping the thing they liked? Like if Bezos bought shares in Amazon, would you be pissed off? If Apple does a stock buyback and they buy more of their own shares in their company back from the public, which is a way to turn earnings into yield for the shareholders, do you get mad and yell at Apple? And so we had to come up with a word for this fan fiction fantasy, which is the opposite of a rug pull, called a magic carpet ride. And so if you're worried about risk of a rug pull, what weighted value have you given the risk of a magic carpet ride? And it's just hilarious to me.
It's fun to watch Hex pumping up the charts. It's left behind all kinds of broken hearts who didn't buy the dip, who didn't DCA. And now that we're on a rip, it's hard to look away. Now I'm not the one to hand out free advice, but as for me, I wouldn't dare think twice about buying a bag, since we're still somewhat down. This rocking ship's about to break the speed of sound. You know these wheels are starting to roll. Best to sit back and just enjoy the show, 'cause we're about to ride that train into the heart of Hexaco. I tip my hat to everyone who minds. You're getting paid out while you're killing time. It makes room for a nice vacation to the beach, perhaps a celebration now that you are rich. Ha ha! Ignore the haters who all called you crazy. You studied hard while they were being lazy. Now you're packing bags, about to take a ride up on that rocket ship, mooned up and starry-eyed. I feel these wheels are starting to roll. Best to sit back and just enjoy the show, 'cause we're about to ride that train into the heart of Hexaco. Now that we're summer bound and the sun is bright, I see that it's not round but rather has 6 sides. It's a work of art that's written into code, designed by Richard Hart to make our bags explode. You know these wheels are starting to roll. Best to sit back and just enjoy the show, 'cause we're about to ride that train into the heart of Hexaco. Yeah, we're about to ride that train into the heart of Hexaco.